Madam Speaker, we are called upon today to approve the setting up of an Economic Development Board, a gargantuan body which will take over the function of the Board of Investment, of the Enterprise Mauritius, of Mauritius Financial Services Promotion Agency, which will manage the film rebate scheme, the integrated resort scheme, the investment hotel scheme, the Mauritian diaspora scheme, the property development scheme, the real estate development scheme, which will manage the Mauritian African Fund, and which will also be responsible for the issue of licenses, clearances, and managing our e-platform. And as if this was not sufficient work, Madam Speaker, the Economic Development Board will also be advising the government on economic policy, on socio-economic development and strategies, on economic planning. Madam Speaker, the Economic Development Board very much looks like a parallel government, like a parallel Ministry of Economic, Finance and Development, controlled and managed by political appointees. And serve absolutely no purpose, as has been rightly pointed out by my good friend Honorable Babu. It serves no purpose providing in Section 6, subsection 3A2, that members appointed on the Economic Development Board should not be actively engaged in any political activity, because we all know, Madam Speaker, the people which this government has so far appointed on various boards and positions of responsibility. I'm talking about the likes of Ms. Chunka, Ms. Sampat, Mr. Gulbul. So I don't expect, Madam Speaker, the trend to be reversed when it comes to the appointment of the CEO or the board members of the Economic Development Board. It's only going to be a job for the boys and for the girls. Madam Speaker, when deciding whether to vote this board, we have to ask ourselves the fundamental question. Do we need an Economic Development Board to advise the government on economic policies, strategies and planning, when we have already a Ministry of Economic Development? Why are we creating this new Economic Development Board? Does the Honourable Prime Minister have no faith in the economists and other competent civil servants manning the Ministry of Economic Development? By creating this Economic Development Board, aren't we duplicating work? Aren't we wasting public funds? Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, it is not the first time that this government is setting up parallel entities for advising it on economic development and planning. Honourable members here will recall on the 22nd of August 2015, the Right Honourable Sir Anirudh Jagannath, then Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, launched the high-powered Committee on Achieving the Second Economic Miracle and Vision 2030, 2 years ago. He stated, and I quote, "The high-powered committee under my chairmanship will oversee the preparation of a blueprint for Vision 2030. The committee will meet as often as needed to further enhance business facilitation and deliver on our investment targets. If we need to burn the midnight oil to attain our objective, we are prepared to go that far." Music's to our ears. If we need to burn the midnight oil, we'll do that. 2 years down the road, what happened to the high-powered committee? Is it still around? What happened to the blueprint for Vision 2030? When will that come out? In 2030? Who will now come up with economic planning and strategy? This is the fundamental question. Will it be the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development? Will it be the high-powered committee, if it still exists? Will it be the new Economic Development Board? Or will all of these three entities now be responsible for devising economic planning and strategy for this government? And in case all three are responsible, then what a waste of fun. Wouldn't it be better for this government to set up a department within the Ministry of Finance, which would be totally dedicated for economic planning, or have a full-fledged Ministry of Planning, economic planning, as we used to have it under previous governments? Madam Speaker, I've listened carefully to Honourable Ashit Ganga. His ministry is directly concerned because one of the functions of the Economic Development Board is to take over what the promotion, the export promotion activities which used to be carried out by Enterprise Mauritius. In last year's budget, this is what the Honourable Minister of Finance stated about the Enterprise Mauritius, at paragraph 352. First, the supporting institution in the SME sector, namely SMEDA, Enterprise Mauritius, and National Women Entrepreneur Council, will be merged into one organization for greater coherence, more efficiency, and effectiveness. So last year, in the budget, the Honourable Minister of Finance announced that Enterprise Mauritius would be merging with SMEDA. This, of course, did not happen. This year, the same Minister of Finance, who in the meantime has become the Prime Minister, stated in his budget speech, 11th, we need a fundamental institutional reform to better support the MSMEs, and as recommended in the 10-year master plan for SME sector, SME Mauritius will be set up to replace MEDA. So this year, there is no longer any merger between Enterprise Mauritius and SMEDA. This year, SMEDA is being rebranded into SME Mauritius, and instead, Enterprise Mauritius will go on the Economic Development Board. So the question I'm asking myself, Madam Speaker, is last year, before the Honourable Minister then the Honourable Minister of Finance announced the merger of Enterprise Mauritius and SMEDA, didn't it trigger the thinking process? Wasn't there any study carried out to find out whether these two institutions can merge, whether it makes sense for export promotion agency to merge with the small and medium enterprises? And I certainly don't buy the explanation of the Honourable Minister Ganga, who wants us to believe that le monde évolue très rapidement, and because of the pace in international circumstances, even within 1 year, we've had to change our policy as regards to Enterprise Mauritius and remove it from the SME to put it on the Economic Development Board. The truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, is that anyone who is involved in the SME sector knows that most SMEs are not involved in export. Most of the SMEs are involved in domestic market. So it makes absolutely no sense to have SMEDA merge with Enterprise Mauritius. So if anyone has given any thought about the proposed merger last year, this is the advice they would have given to the Honourable Prime Minister. But the problem with this government, Madam Speaker, is they know everything. People learn about policies watching the TV, watching the budget speech. And then they are before a fait accompli. And then this government has to do U-turn, has to unwind whatever they have stated. And this is exactly what we are doing today as well. And I'm saying that, Madam Speaker, because I had, before preparing my speech, had consultation with people from Board of Investment, from Enterprise Mauritius, from the Financial Services Promotion Agency to find out about how they feel about being put under this new Economic Development Board. And all of them told me that they learned about the merger when watching the budget. They didn't know. There was no consultation. No one knew about it. And even after the announcement was made in the budget, I am told, I don't know how far it's true, I'm told that there has been only one meeting between the financial secretary and representatives of these authorities where a draft bill has been circulated to them for comments. And they had so many comments about it that, for example, directorates. It was announced in the budget that there were going to be 3 directorates. Now in this bill, they've got rid of these 3 directorates. Now in the bill, there is only a power to create directorates. Why? Because when the bill was prepared, there was no consultation. And Madam Speaker, when we come to Enterprise Mauritius, the staff are worried. They're worried not only about their job, what will happen to their job, but they are worried also how there will be the interaction between an agency who is dedicated for export promotion and an agency who is dedicated to investment promotion. Because we're not reinventing the wheel here, Madam Speaker. Let us not forget that we used in the 90s to have the Mauritius Export Development and Investment Authority. We used to have media. We used to have only one umbrella authority doing both export promotion and doing investment promotion. Why did we got rid of media? Has anyone given some thought? Has anyone consulted their elders and found out what went wrong in media? Why was media split? Why was the investment promotion function taken over ultimately by Board of Investment, whereas the promotion function taken over by Enterprise Mauritius? No one triggered the thought process. No one asked the former employees of media why it was around. And today, we come before this house as if, we found the Holy Grail. The new Minister of Finance had just discovered that we need to have better coordination between all these agencies, and therefore we're coming with the Economic Development Bank, the Economic Development Board. But tell us first, why do you think that what didn't work 20 years ago, 15 years ago, will work today? And I haven't heard anything from the Honourable Prime Minister. I haven't heard anything from Honourable Ashid Ganga telling us why we have learned from our mistake from the media days, and we're not going to repeat the same. Madam Speaker, when I look at when I first read the Economic Development Board, I was really under the impression that what we were trying to do was to emulate Singapore. And I've worked in Singapore, and I know Singapore very well. And that, I found it very odd. Because in Singapore, yes, we have a very efficient economic development board, but that economic development board is not responsible for export promotion, is not responsible for trade promotion. In Singapore, we have an institution known as the International Enterprise Singapore, which is a government agency dedicated to promoting international trade and partnering Singapore companies in going global. And that International Enterprise Singapore is completely separate and distinct from the Economic Development Board of Singapore. When we drafted this bill, has there been any consultation with our counterparts in Singapore to find out why in Singapore, which is supposed to be a model, an economic model for us, why in Singapore the Economic Development Board is separate from the International Enterprise Singapore, and why in Singapore it works to have 2 separate agencies, one for trade promotion, one for investment promotion, why this model will not work in Mauritius, why in Mauritius we have to put everything under one roof. Did we trigger the thought process? Did we carry out a survey? Did we ask questions? Or Did you just come here and someone got an idea and think that because Singapore is doing something, we have to do it better than them? Madam Speaker, the decision to merge Enterprise Mauritius under the board of the Economic Development Board come at a time when we desperately need to give a new boost to our export sector. The latest figures published by Statistics Mauritius only last month in June 2017 are damning. Damning. Compared to a year earlier, export has decreased by 10.7%. When compared to the first quarter of 2016, decreases were observed for our export to United Kingdom, down by 22.4%. Our export to the USA, down by 25.4%. Our export to South Africa, down by 24.8%. Our export to Italy, down by 28.5%. Our export of articles and apparel, textile, clothing, down by 21.6%. Our export in fish and fish preparation, down by 20.7%. All the figures are in the red when it comes to the export sector in Mauritius. We desperately need, Madam Speaker, a new vision. We desperately need market diversification. We desperately need product diversification. We need to optimize our export to countries of SADC, of COMESA, and other destinations where we have preferential trade agreements. And we all know, Madam Speaker, that we are currently negotiating a comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement with India. When this cooperation, this partnership agreement will be signed, there would be tremendous opportunities for Mauritius companies to go and tap into the Indian market. So, Madam Speaker, now is not the time for trial and experiment. Now is not the time to play with our export promotion agency. Now is not the time to demotivate the staff of Enterprise Mauritius. And certainly, now is not the time to play with the Financial Services Promotion Agency as well. Madam Speaker, I really don't understand this government, how they can announce something, do something, and then just change what they've done, just undo whatever they've done. I've just explained for Enterprise Mauritius how they announced they're going to merge with SMEDA and then did a U-turn. In the case of the Financial Services Promotion Agency, it's worse. It's worse. Initially, in the 90s and early 2000s, we used to have a dedicated agency for the promotion and training of financial services sector, known as the Financial Services Promotion Agency. The then government, the Labour government, I think after 2005, decided to scrap that FSPA and move the promotion of financial services under the aegis of the Board of Investment. At that point, there was a lot of criticism from the financial sector about this moving the Financial Promotion Agency to BOI. So when this government took office in 2015, one of the first measures they announced in the budget was the creation of a new financial services promotion agency dedicated to the promotion of financial services. And in his budget speech, the then Minister of Finance, Honorable Lakshmi Naidu, had this to say: the Financial Services Promotion Agency will be reactivated for more effective promotion campaign, especially to diversify our global business activities in Africa. The decision was unanimously welcomed by the Financial Services Center. And we all know, because we asked PQs in this house, how the financial services promotion was launched, in a grand fashion. And even the Lord Mayor of London, Alderman Geoffrey Mountevans, was invited. So once this FSPA was set up, it started doing campaign, and it's been doing well, promotion campaign, promoting the financial services sector. Services Promotion Agency Only 1.5 years later, what are we being told to do? Unwind everything? Unwind everything. Go back to how it used to be before this government came to power. Take it away, scrap the Financial Services Promotion Agency, take it and put it back under the aegis of the Economic Development Board, like it used to be under the Board of Investment. So again, Madam Speaker, does anyone think in this government before they take a decision, before they engulf millions of rupees in creating an institution, only to do a U-turn? And each time they come, they will tell you, we are doing this, this is good. And everybody in the government will say, yes, it is good. We are doing the Financial Services Promotion, very good. Today, we're scrapping the Financial Services Commission, same people, same Minister of Finance, same government, and same people will say, yes, it's very good. We're getting rid of the Financial Services Promotion Agency. We have to be serious, Madam Speaker. Like Honorable Guyana always say, there's only one government. Ministers can change, but there's only one government. There's collective responsibility. There's cabinet decision. You cannot go on changing things and do trial and error. Because the financial services sector, Madam Speaker, is going through tough time, even tougher time than the export sector. We're being badly hit following the renegotiation of the treaty between Mauritius and India, which is much to our detriment. We're already feeling the direct effect of that. There is a definite slowdown in enterprises using Mauritius to invest into India. They're preferring to go directly now to India because it doesn't make economic sense, tax-wise, to use Mauritius. Worse, earlier this month, as Honourable Attorney General reminded us in his budget speech, the government has signed the multilateral convention to implement tax treaty-related measures to prevent base erosion and profit shifting, commonly known as multilateral instrument, or MLI. This is to please the OECD. This is to ensure that we are not blacklisted. We had to give this commitment. But when we give this commitment, we know also that that would be the end of the tax privileges that we have. We will no longer be able to discriminate between onshore and offshore work. We will no longer be able to give preferential tax treatment to non-residents. We know it. So we have to reinvent ourselves. So this scrapping of the Financial Services Promotion Agency is happening at a time that we need strong leadership in the financial services sector. And yet, we are demotivating the staff of the Financial Services Promotion Agency by telling them that henceforth they will have to report to the Economic Development Board when they don't even know how it would be. They don't even know who would be the CEO. They don't even know what would be the work environment that they would be involved. Madam Speaker, this brings me to the third agency that is being moved under the Economic Development Board, namely the Board of Investment. Again, Madam Speaker, I can't understand the logic of creating a new Economic Development Board to do exactly what the Board of Investment is already doing. All the schemes that are currently being operated by the Board of Investment will now be operated by the Economic Development Board. According to Honourable Ganga, the reason for creating that board is to ensure a better coordination between the various authorities when doing promotion. Yes, I agree. I agree that it is not normal that 1 week you'll have someone from Enterprise Mauritius going to South Africa, the next week you have someone from the FSPA going to South Africa, and the third week someone from the Board of Investment going to South Africa. I agree. But is the Honourable Minister aware of Section 6F of the Investment Promotion Act? Section 6F of the Investment Promotion Act provides that the Board of Investment has a responsibility to coordinate multi-sectoral promotion activities and be the focal point for all investment-related promotional and marketing activities for Mauritius. So the Board of Investment already have that ability to act as a coordinating body. It's very simple. Whenever someone wants to go to a country, all they need to do is exchange email, copy FSPA, copy Board of Investment, and then they can go meet together and coordinate the activities. You don't need to scrap the three bodies, Enterprise Mauritius, FSPA, and Board of Investment, just to ensure coordination. You don't need to create a whole new economic development board just to ensure coordination when we do promotion activities. It simply doesn't make sense, Madam Speaker. And when you look at the proposed bill, I've gone section by section. It's almost verbatim, almost taken verbatim from the Investment Promotion Act. Same thing that the Board of Investment was doing under the Investment Promotion Act, now will be done by the Economic Development Board under this new bill. Madam Speaker, one of the major differences between the Board of Investment and the Economic Development Board is that the Board of Investment is answerable to the Minister of Finance, whereas the Economic Development Board will now fall under the purview of the Prime Minister. I don't know what is the rationale. I mean, I can understand, as long as the Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance, there would not be a great difference. But why going forward, we will have promotion agencies be answerable to the Prime Minister instead of, the Minister of Finance. And I don't know if this is deliberate or not, Madam Speaker, but one of the consequences of a change in the responsible minister is that it will henceforth be for the Honourable Prime Minister to enter into investment promotion and protection agreement. This is the effect of Section 27 of the bill. Previously, of course, as is done in every country in the world, it is the Minister of Finance who negotiates, sign and ratify investment promotion and protection agreement. But now, it will be the Prime Minister. And looking at the Act, I don't know, what would happen to our overseas trade mission? Would it still, which has now been opened by the Board of Investment, will it fall under the Economic Development Board? Or will it go under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Because in his intervention during the budget speech, Honourable Lakshmi Naidu seems to be very keen on having economic mission fall under his responsibility and having the economic diplomacy revamped under Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, I would conclude by drawing the attention of the House to what for me is the most disturbing aspect of creating an economic development board, and that is the effect on the staff. Staff of Enterprise Mauritius, staff of Financial Services Promotion Agencies, staff of the Board of Investment, the moving of those staff to the Economic Development Board will be a painful exercise. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it, because each agency has its own organigram, its own staff organigram. And I know under the transition and saving provision in section 43 of this act, we are saying that the staff will be transferred on terms which are not less favorable. Fair enough. Those who are in contract will be given a new contract under the new body. This is all good in theory, but what happened in practice? Today, for example, Enterprise Mauritius, FSPA, Board of Investment, each one has their own human resource manager. So are we going to have 3 human resource managers now for the Economic Development Board? Today, each one has its own administrative staff, has its own internal controller, its own accountants. Are we going to transfer all these staff? Are we going to triplicate all the staffing under the Economic Development Board? And what about the CEO? Today, enterprise Mauritius have a CEO. The Board of Investment has a CEO. The FSPA has a CEO, although he has just been promoted to FSC, but technically there's supposed to be a CEO. And under the Economic Development Board, there would be only one CEO. So we are sure that at least one of the two CEOs will not be a CEO. And maybe we won't even, both of them won't be. Maybe a third, like we heard, cronies, like Honorable Babu mentions. That would be a very covetable position, the CEO of this, new gigantic organization. So what would happen to the existing CEOs? Surely, these CEOs who are now answerable to the board would not be expected to be answerable to a new CEO. That would be a demotion. That would lead to constructive dismissal. That would mean compensation, either in terms of a golden shake hand or in terms of unfair punitive severance allowance for punitive dismissal. And who is going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for that? LEPEP? Government changes his mind? Who foots the bill? Taxpayers? Madam Speaker, so when we take all this into consideration, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it all worth it? Is it all worth the trouble, the rebranding exercise, coping with disgruntled and dismotivated staff, the uncertainty and teething problem which will inevitably be involved, at least in the early days of this new Economic Development Board? Is it worth setting up this board? Isn't it better to use our existing resources to revamp these three agencies, to give them proper staffing, proper training, increase their budget, give them more tools to promote Mauritius? Madam Speaker, looking back on the event that led up to the proposed setting up of this Economic Development Board, that explained what happened to Enterprise Mauritius, what happened to the FSPA, what is now going to happen to Board of Investment, the U-turns, the zigzagging. I was minded to qualify this government as a government of trial and error. They try and they fail. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, they are worse than that. They are a government of error and error. They don't learn from their mistake. They keep doing the same mistake over and over again because they don't consult people before they take a decision. They don't trigger the thought process. And once they have announced a measure, they have to face the consequences. And Madam Speaker, I really, really hope that I'm wrong, because if I'm not wrong, it would mean that both all our export sector, our financial services sector, our investment promotion agencies would have suffered badly as a result of the incompetence of this government. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words on the bill. Madam Speaker, I've listened